Lebanese politics, because Hezbollah already does. And if Syria withdraws, and if there are free elections, Hezbollah will be a political power in Lebanon. There's no choice that the administration has, but with some creative ambiguity about disarming and renouncing militia and renouncing terrorism, with some creative ambiguity about those goals, the administration will have to deal with Hezbollah.
The president suggested, Robin, if we go to democracy in the Middle East, we're going away from terrorism. Is this an example where they may be coexistent?
Terrorism and democracy? I don't think so. But I
mean a Democratic party trying to win an election in a free country of Lebanon, for example, but still harboring terrorists. Isn't that reasonable to believe that could continue?
I think the United States is looking for a sequence of events. First, Syria to pull out of Lebanon, and then for the new Lebanese government elected sometime this spring to deal with the problem of Hezbollah, to do it one step at a time.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Robin Wright, diplomatic correspondent for the Washington Post, and Jay Carney, deputy bureau chief of Time Magazine in Washington. Next week, it's a great week here on Hardball. Coming up on Monday, the Hardball College Tour returns for 2005, and it's better than ever. California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be our guest for a full hour from Stanford University out in California. Then on Tuesday, this is my favorite show, looking forward to. Clint Eastwood's going to be my guest for the whole hour, fresh off his big Oscar win with $1 Million Revenge. Right now, it's time for the countdown with Keith.
Which of these stories will you be talking about tomorrow? Michael Jackson's back. Back to the emergency room. Almost back in jail. His back supposedly out. He shows up late in pajamas. And then his accuser testifies, Michael gave me Jesus juice. A man kills himself in Wisconsin, but not before claiming he killed Judge Joan Lefkoe's husband and mother, and not before sending a letter of explanation to a Chicago reporter. That reporter joins us. Russell Crowe threatened by Al-Qaeda. No, authorities say, not so much. And it's the controversial SpongeBob tolerance video, premiering in Ms. Kazarjian's first grade class this morning.
What did you learn about family from the video?
That families help you when you need them to help you.
Yep, that kid is ruined for life, huh? All that and more now on Countdown. Good evening. Jacko's backo goes wacko. Michael's late because of a pain in the sacroiliaco. Our fifth story on the countdown tonight. Just when you thought the molestation trial of Michael Joe Jackson could not get any weirder, it does. The defendant comes within a hair's breadth of going to jail as a furious judge threatens to issue an arrest warrant because Jackson was late to court by more than an hour, purportedly after his back gave out on him. And oh yeah, when he did show up, he appeared in his pajamas. Your tax and entertainment dollars in action. Day 479 of the Michael Jackson investigations, beginning with a moment that may have turned defense attorney Thomas Mesereau's hair even whiter. His client a no-show as court convened. This whole subplot recapped in a moment. First, if Jackson thought he had a pain in his back this morning, he had only to wait to hear the second day of testimony from his accuser. The now 15-year-old boy told the court that he remembers Jackson fondling him twice, to the unavoidable biological conclusion, and that it may have happened 2 other times while he was sleeping, that he saw Jackson naked and said, ew, that Jackson repeatedly gave him wine to drink from a can of Diet Coke. He told me if I had ever heard of Jesus juice, the witness said. He told me, like you know how Jesus drank wine, we call it Jesus juice, that they drank together nightly. The accuser also said his own brother received wine from Jackson. Full legal analysis of the testimony in a moment. First, this all played out after this morning's Carnival Freak Show. Jackson's spokesperson insisting he tripped while getting into his clothes early this morning, threw out his back, and went to a hospital emergency room at 5:45 a.m. The hospital saying it was actually around 8 a.m., and he was only in the emergency room until about 8:40. And all that unleashed all this.
Could be one of the most significant days in the Michael Jackson child molestation trial.
Michael Jackson's accuser will be back on the stand today.
Thomas Mesereau, Michael Jackson's attorney, entering that Santa Maria courthouse.
And in any minute, we are expecting to see Michael Jackson arriving here at the courthouse.
Court expected to resume at about now out there on the West Coast. We are hearing, however, that the defendant, Michael Jackson, has not yet appeared at that courthouse in Santa Maria.
We understand that Michael Jackson is reportedly in Cottage Hospital suffering from, we are being told, back problems.
Tom Mesereau, Jackson's attorney, was on the phone.
Mesereau's outside pacing on his cell phone. Something is not right.
Mesereau addressed the court. The judge cut him off and he said, I am issuing a warrant for his arrest.
In 35 minutes, Michael Jackson must arrive in this courthouse here in Santa Maria or he will be arrested.
Jennifer, this is really a race against the clock for Mr. Jackson.
You're absolutely right. It is a race against the clock.
On the bottom of your screen right now, you can see we have put up an arrest warrant clock down there counting.
Your countdown clock puts it at, well, he needs to show up soon. Let's just put it that way. According to the countdown clock, he has 1 minute to arrive at this courthouse.
Clearly, Jennifer, he's not going to make it.
That's right. I mean, he's less than 10 seconds here, Jennifer.
And the countdown clock has expired. Michael Jackson has not arrived at the courthouse. He was going
there is Michael Jackson now.
You see him walking out with the umbrella.
He seems to be wearing pajama bottoms. I'm not sure about that, but he is on his feet. He's walking.
He was wearing pajama bottoms and a T-shirt.
He was not wearing his impeccable costumes today.
In his pajamas.
He appeared to be wearing slippers. He
mentioned he's wearing pajama bottoms.
He said himself that he's still working on music and his dance steps. It could have been, he could have taken a fall. He could have, had a spasm doing one of his spin moves, as far as we know.
Mike, the big question we all want to know is Michael Jackson still wearing his pajamas, and can the jury see that?
Well, we'll do the countdown clocks, thank you. And that's the long version. For the more insightful short version, we turn once again to our slightly factual nightly recap, Michael Jackson Puppet Theater.
Oh, Mr. Mesmo, my back really hurts. Ow, ow, ow. Michael, you do understand that if you're not here by 9:35, the judge will put you in jail and he will forfeit your bond of $3 million? It's a miracle. I'll be right over, Mr. Mesmo. Tito, get me some jammies. Woohoo!
Every time I think that that bit is too absurd or disrespectful, something happens in this case that reminds me that's not possible. Let's review the twin stories of the day, the testimony, and first the attempted backing out of the man whose back was supposedly out. From Miami, I'm joined by defense attorney Jane Weintraub. Good evening, Jane.
Thank you.
And in Santa Maria, California, I'm joined by Court TV correspondent Savannah Guthrie, who was in the courtroom today. Good evening, Savannah.
Good evening.
Savannah, let me start with you. How angry was Judge Melville? How much of his anger was conveyed to that jury? And how much of what happened today does the jury know about?
I think the judge was clearly peeved. He didn't say talk to the hand, but he literally put his hand up when Thomas Mesereau tried to make excuses for his client, even offering that a doctor was on the phone. Here's my cell phone. He'll tell you that Jackson's really ill. The judge didn't want to hear anything about it. He just said, get your client here. In an hour, I'm issuing an arrest warrant, and in 1 hour, I'm going to execute that warrant. Then the judge was kind of in a pickle because, he wants to be transparent for the jurors. He wants to tell them what's going on. He takes great pains to tell them what the legal objections are about and to tell them what's going on in the court. At the same time, he can't say, hey, jurors, I am really ticked at Michael Jackson. He can't prejudice this jury against Michael Jackson. So in the end, what he did was just tell them, Michael Jackson had a medical problem this morning. It made him late to court, and I ordered him to come back here, and I would do the exact same to you, jurors, if you were late. And he left it at that.
Jane, Jackson was late pre-trial. The judge warned him then. He was out sick, postponing the jury selection for a week. Now this happens. If you're Michael Jackson's attorney, what do? Do you just throw up your hands and say, Your Honor, my client is nuts?
But no, because he can't do that. He's an advocate for his client. And ethically, let's not forget, the truth of the matter was there was a real, genuine health issue here, even this morning. There was another genuine health issue last week. Look, Michael Jackson is who he is. And Tom Mesereau is doing an excellent job. We've seen the transcript so far of cross-examining the witnesses and presenting Michael Jackson's side of this case. And he will continue to do so. The fact that Jackson went to the hospital this morning, he was genuinely distressed. I mean, I think Savannah even reported that he looked distressed today.
Well, maybe because he had to be out in public in pajamas, but Jane, for all his show-busy appearance, the flowing white mane, the lawyer as lion, Mr. Mesereau is a pretty no-nonsense guy. Did he not drop Robert Blake as a client because Blake began to flake out in terms of his conduct in court?
Well, I think it was because Blake disregarded his advice, refused to listen to it, and gave the Barbara Walters interview. I think Michael Jackson has come a very long way since he was dancing on the rooftop of that SUV and hired Tom Mesereau. He has been punctual to court. He has been respectful of the court, respectful of the process. He's been wearing a shirt and tie every day this week. I think Tom Mesereau has a very good grasp of Michael Jackson, as good as any lawyer can have.
As we've all found out, if you dance atop an SUV, you can hurt your back. Let's turn to the testimony. Savannah, he touched me twice is all I remember. He saw Jackson naked and said, ooh. Jackson twice fondled him to the inevitable biological conclusion. How credible did the accuser appear as he said those things? Could the courtroom tell how the jury was perceiving this boy?
I was in the courtroom when he talked about this molestation. I can tell you, I think every single hand on that jury was furiously scribbling notes. They knew this was the money testimony. This is the important stuff. I think they probably felt that this accuser was credible. I mean, it's hard for me to say, but they were looking at him, engaged with him. He told a very compelling story. But Tom Mesereau is at the ready. He's already started his cross-examination, and he is going to pick this story apart, and he's already done that.
Savannah, how did he do that? How did he go after him today?
Well, first let me just tell you about Mesereau's demeanor. It seemed to me that he was never more aggressive than he was today. It was like he was a racehorse just waiting to get out of that gate, and he was firing off questions so loudly and so quickly, not even really waiting for the answer, that Tom Sneddon, the DA, had to stand up and object, and the judge said, yes, Mr. Mesereau, you got to wait for the witness to answer. You're cutting him off. One of his key points, and he only had a couple of minutes before the testimony led up for the day, one of his key points was, so let's get this straight, young man. You told 3 LA social workers that Michael Jackson was a great guy, nothing inappropriate happened. Then you met with 2 lawyers, and then you came up with the story of molestation. Obviously, the defense's point is this is incredible. You know, once this boy met with lawyers, he got the idea, got dollar signs in his eyes, or more to the point, his mother did, and he fabricated this story.
Jane, speaking of waiting, there was a note this afternoon from one of the pool reporters. Let me just read it. Testimony seems coached. Accuser keeps giving the answer before Sneddon asks the questions. That doesn't sound good. Jurors usually perceive that, don't they?
Well, as a defense lawyer, you can only hope that jurors will see through to the truth and see when a witness is coached. I think it's obvious that this child is going to have to admit that he's been coached. His brother admitted it, that he was coached before in the last lawsuit with the mother, and I'm sure that this accuser is going to have to admit it as well. You know, remember, the wine and the Jesus juice, the stuff that came out today, Michael Jackson's not charged with that. Keith, Michael Jackson is charged with giving him an intoxicating agent, the wine, to facilitate the molestation. Well, on the airplane or on the way down to Miami, when he supposedly gave him a can of Diet Coke with wine in it, that wasn't to facilitate a molestation. All the DA was doing is throwing more bad acts and dirt on Michael Jackson because there isn't a lot of evidence.
Defense attorney Jane Weintraub in Miami, and attorney and Court TV reporter Savannah Guthrie in Santa Maria. Thank you both for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Keith.
You bet.
Keep on with the force. Don't stop. Don't stop till you get enough. Our MSNBC coverage of the epic, or at least bizarre, day at the Jackson trial continues with a special edition of the Abrams Report with Dan Abrams at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Be there. Aloha. Woo-hoo-hoo. Also tonight, astounding developments in a far more serious court case, a routine traffic stop ending in suicide, and what appears to be the break police need to solve the murders of a Chicago judge's family. We'll talk to the reporter who's played such an integral role in the case. And who was a bigger threat to the actor Russell Crowe, Al-Qaeda or his own imagination? You are watching Countdown on MSNBC.
We're for dogs, the big ones and the little ones, the guardians and the comedians, the pure breeds and the mutts. We're for digging, scratching, sniffing, and fetching. And if there were an international holiday for dogs, we'd be for that too, because we're for dogs.
When I have arthritis pain, I've still got to get moving fast. I start days like this with Advil. Only Advil has liquid gels, relief from minor arthritis pain in a liquid-filled capsule. Advil rushes strong relief right to my aching joints, gentle on my stomach too. And today, with so many questions about prescription pain relievers, it's good to know I can still trust Advil.
Advil for arthritis pain. Fast, strong, trusted.
A break in a taillight leading to a huge break in the search for the killer of a Chicago judge's husband and mother. And the man sitting behind bars for past threats against the same judge appears to have no connection to the case. Stand by.
All across America, Pfizer scientists are discovering breakthrough medicines. In this room, heart disease. Over there, diabetes. But the best way to stay healthy is actually behind this door. Exercise and healthy eating. Good health starts with good choices. And if you need medicine, Pfizer will be there, so you and your doctor can make the best choice possible. Pfizer, working to keep America healthy.
Quick download on the all-new Hyundai Tucson. Loaded with features inside and out, like standard side impact and side curtain airbags, standard electronic stability control with traction control, and a unique cargo space where every passenger seat folds flat. With award-winning quality backed by America's best warranty. 10 years, 100,000 miles. The perfect for whatever, whenever Hyundai Tucson. Nicely equipped at just $17,499. Only at Hyundai. Unlike RAV4 and CR-V, the Tucson offers 6 airbags and electronic stability control for under $17,500.
Hello, it's Chris. I spent 30 years working with politicians, either with them or against them. Who told him to put the statement out? Who personally said it wasn't true? I think the trick on television is to ask them questions that they've never heard before and make them think out loud. And that's my job.
Hardball with Chris Matthews, weeknights on...
Today, nobody gets treated with respect, especially if you have bad credit, no credit, and need a car. But at Sterling Auto Credit, we fight the banks for you, so you can drive away in the newer used car you deserve. How? We make them an offer they can't refuse. If you show an income of $1,500 a month, Sterling will do the rest. No cosign is needed, even if you're on Social Security, alimony, or recently divorced. Call me, Steve B, and leave the rest to Sterling Auto Credit. Pick up the phone, and you'll get a loan.
The Masters. Experience it on the Golf Channel. Over the past 10 years, no other network has more experience in covering golf's most prestigious major. From Crenshaw's emotional win in '95 to Phil's thrill last season, no one covers the Masters like the Golf Channel, the only network to turn on before, during, and after this year's tournament. The drama, the excitement, the tradition continues. Masters Week on the Golf Channel, golf's home for the past 10 years.
The murderer of the husband and mother of Illinois Judge Joan Lefkoe appears not to have been a white supremacist nor one of his supporters, but a disgruntled ex-litigant. Our fourth story in the countdown. At first, there seems to be some comfort in that. On closer inspection, what difference does it actually make? Yesterday at about 5 p.m., a police officer noted a van with a broken taillight parked in front of a school in West Allis, Wisconsin. As the officer approached what looked like a routine traffic stop, the driver shot himself. He has since been identified as Bart Ross of Chicago, Illinois. His sudden suicide appearing far less sudden based on a trail of evidence, a suicide note in the car in which he claimed to have committed those murders, and a handwritten confession sent to the NBC television station in Chicago, WMAQ. The letter said he had broken into the utility room of Judge Lefkoe's home that day with the intent of waiting until she returned in order to then kill her. But quoting the letter, "Mr. Lefkoe discovered me. I had no choice but to shoot him." The letter continues, "Then I heard the voice, Michael, Michael, and saw an older woman. I had to shoot her too." The presumed motive behind all this, Judge Lefkoe was one of 11 judges he named who had ruled against him in or dismissed various lawsuits he had filed against an area hospital, which Ross claimed had disfigured him, an ordeal he also described in a second typewritten letter as 12 and a half years of anger. Reporter Phil Rogers has been covering this story for WMAQ, the station that received the letter from Bart A. Ross. He joins us now. Phil, good evening.
Keith, good evening.
We've called it a letter. That's not exactly right. It's a bunch of documents, right? Give us the big picture and the key details.
Well, actually, I can show you. We received 2 letters today. The first one came in and it looked like this, and this, in fact, is what police found in the van. It looks very much like a news release, and it details the travails in this gentleman's life. Written on the back was this. And this is the letter that we found in the newsroom this morning, in with the morning mail, and an account in very chilling details of Lefkoe murders.
And in that, he wrote about having considered other murders. Is that right?
That's exactly right. In this first document, and in fact in all of his lawsuits, which we've pulled, and they go on for hundreds of pages, he gives you a laundry list of people he blames for his problems, and it goes into a great number of judges, a great number of doctors, a great number of lawyers, and just some private citizens over the last 12.5 years, including one hospital. And in this particular case, Judge Lefkoe appears to have just been the last judge. On the 25th of January, she's the one that dismissed his case once and for all.
Despite those circumstances, despite those letters, despite that reference, despite the suicide, just as the policeman approached last night in West Allis, at the police news conference this afternoon, they seem not to consider this case closed. Is there a reason for that? Are they just being technical and precise, or is there something here we don't know about?
No, Keith, I think probably a lot of that is police speak. They do say, if you look very closely at their comments today, they showed the sketch again, and they pointed out that this gentleman closely resembles one of the individuals that they saw outside the house. Sources have told us that, in fact, they found clothing in the van that matched the clothing on the